We have called together the Sunday Roundtable this morning. Joining us this morning is Democratic political analyst Marianne Marsh, Republican political analyst Rob Gray. Great to have you with us, guys. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, guys, you just heard Andrea Campbell on talking about Mayor Walsh's police reforms. She pretty much endorsed most of them, but said that he could have been more active, proactive, instead of reactive. Was she right about that, Marianne?
Well, look, I mean, Marty Walsh proposed a broad, sweeping set of reforms, and I think he should be lauded for that. But the panel that helped develop it said it was the floor, not the ceiling. So expect more to come. So in that respect, Andrea, you know, lots of people, and Andrea too, have suggestions. But big reform takes time. You never do it in one big step, but this is a great first step, and that's good news for Boston.
One of her main complaints was that not enough money from the police budget will be diverted for these reforms. Rob, what do you think about that?
Well, I think under her plan that crime would go up in Boston, clearly. These reforms are common sense and they have teeth. They were created by a diverse panel, accepted by the commissioner and by the mayor, and they make sense. And I think that Campbell's solution is not a solution that's good for public safety in Boston.
Let's talk about the census count. The U.S. Supreme Court sided with President Trump on shutting the census count down last week. Secretary of State Bill Galvin furious, saying the White House claims that 99.9% of the population has been counted is, in his words, obvious fiction. Rob, let me start with you. What is going to be the biggest fallout from this?
Well, I think this is primarily a play by Bill Galvin to get a few headlines and to spur people in Massachusetts to respond by the deadline. It's hard to get people to respond. We know that. But all this does is move the deadline 2 weeks earlier. I think it's not a big deal nationally.
Marianne, what do you think?
It'll be a big deal when we don't get the federal assistance that we need and deserve because we were undercounted. Many federal authorizations and appropriations are based on a formula, based on population. That affects everybody, not just folks of color, not just lower income people, everybody. The roads, the environment, all the things all of us use, we aren't going to get the kind of money coming out of a pandemic to try to deal with it, and it affects representation. Every state rep, every state senator, every member of Congress now will have more people in their district than were counted, and that affects everything they do.
But listen, if we're undercounted, then so are the 49 other states. Okay, the deadline's moving earlier for them too.
Yeah,
so
but that doesn't help.
It all comes out in the wash.
No, it doesn't, because we actually need more money to come out of this pandemic, and that is based on how many people, not citizens, people are in this state and in this country.
Speaking of the pandemic, COVID numbers keep rising. Massachusetts now has over 60 communities listed high risk, and some of them have colleges and jails that are hiking their numbers. Governor Baker says they must be included. Is he right about this, Marianne?
Yeah, well, yes, because the people who work at these colleges and other institutions don't live there for the most part. They go home and usually in that same community. So you need to count everybody. And the college kids, they may live on campus, but they go into town, what have you. So we need to know the exact number of people who are in these communities who are infected, so we can try to keep this from really going out of control. The more data, the better.
Rob, is it fair to include the colleges and jail numbers?
You have to. The governor's exactly right. It was a silly suggestion by some of these communities to exclude colleges and jails. Like Marianne said, they're not islands. They're not walled in. They go back and forth. It's part of the town.
All right, next item is Governor Baker. He's breaking ranks with his party again. First, he was one of only 4 GOP Republicans refusing to endorse Amy Coney Barrett, and then he announced he is not voting for Donald Trump, but he wouldn't say if he is voting for Joe Biden. Marianne, can he... I recognize fully that a person's vote is private, but can he avoid answering this question?
I think he's going to try real hard to avoid it. The real political benefit here is that he's not going to vote for Donald Trump. That's really what matters. Now, is he going to throw his vote away and write in Jeb Bush or someone else like other people do? Maybe. And that's part of trying to avoid a Republican primary if he runs for a third term, and probably the wrath of Donald Trump if he somehow manages to shenanigan his way back to the White House. But that's for another day.
Rob, what do you think?
I mean, I think the governor was clear enough. He's not supporting Trump. He's not voting for Trump. He did the same thing in 2016, and he was overwhelmingly reelected in 2018. So I think he'll have no problem keeping it private.
So coming off of the dueling town halls this past week, Donald Trump and Joe Biden were pitching hard and fast as votes already are being cast. Any chance the president gets close to 40% of the vote here in Massachusetts, which is essentially very blue, Rob?
I don't think so. I mean, I've seen private polling just from this week where Trump's at about 26%, Biden's over 60%. I think there are some Trump voters who are reluctant to tell a pollster they're voting for Trump, but not enough to get to 40. I think this is going to be like a, call it 64, 34-ish type thing for Biden, 66-34, something like that.
Do you think he's right about that, Marianne?
I do. I think he cracks 30 and change, but he does not crack 40.
And were the dueling town halls the worst thing in America last weekend, or was it okay?
I watched one on TV and one on an iPad, and I'm not sure I'm the same person.
You know what? But
They
I
were
think people
very
got more
different.
out of it than the debate. People got more out of it.
That's
These guys had to
absolutely,
answer
absolutely.
questions. and
That's
not
an
shout-
interesting
shout
point,
over each
Rob.